Hey, my name is Fiona, and I'm a composer, pianist, and educator. I was born and raised in the Bay Area. For as long as I can remember, I was always into blending things together, like clothing, food, words, colors, fashion, music genres, and sounds. And I can attribute this to me being a mix of many different ethnic backgrounds. My mom being, mixed Asian and Polynesian, and my dad being British, Welsh, Greek, and Native American. I was the kid that stuck out like a sore thumb in school. I was painfully shy, really socially awkward. I wore homemade clothing. I, brought really weird Asian food for school lunch. And, all I wanted to do was play music, and I didn't really have many friends growing up. I began playing piano around age 6 years old, and I just remember I loved practicing. It just came really easy. And if there was a piano in public, I had to play it. Years later in high school, I met my first kind of music collaborator, soulmate, partner, and he opened me up to a whole new world of music. We would play music, write music together. So he was a little older than me, but musically we were on the same page. It was an incredible experience working with him because he opened me up to this idea that I was a music creator. Because up until then, I had just been playing around the Bay Area at recitals or events or weddings, mainly as a solo pianist. So he had opened me up to this realm that I was a creator of music and not just a performer of music. And I look back, and those were like the highlight of my high school years. So in my early 20s, I went to Mills College and got my degree in piano performance. And upon graduating, I actually got a steady stream of film scoring gigs. And it was incredibly fun, actually. I really enjoyed kind of mixing things together, trying different ideas out. And I loved working in a collaborative environment where it was like lots of people working together towards one big project. I really like that. And then there was this one director I had that I worked with that he wanted me to create a piece that was almost exactly like the temp track. And I think that was like my wake up call. It was like, oh, wait a second. I don't really feel like this piece is really mine. So from that point forward, I actually began to focus solely on composing music that would showcase my voice as a composer rather than, trying to mimic someone else's music, mimic the temp track, or trying to, you know, force my music to sound a certain way. So even now when I work on film scores, I try to work with directors that are more flexible with my interpretation of how the music should be. My first big piece was my symphony for two pianos and orchestra, and it was actually performed by the Awesome Orchestra in Berkeley earlier in 2017. And it was amazing. It was just, after hearing your piece on played by Sibelius or Finale for so long, and then you finally hear it in person, it's quite an amazing experience. So I started writing a few piano process pieces where the etude number corresponded to the number of notes I could use in the piece. And this was inspired by Ligeti's Musica Ricercata. He kind of deviates from the method, like for example, in my etude number 1, I only use A's on the piano. And then my etude number 2, I use A and B flats. It can be any A or B flat on the piano, but I just stuck to using those 2 notes. And then I would develop the piece more rhythmically and texturally rather than harmonically and melodically. And my etude number 4 for D, D sharp, E, and F will actually be performed in Poland in the next month. So I'm excited about that. So one of the biggest projects I've worked on was my opera, and it's the story of Wu Wei. It's based on my mom's struggle to survive in China during the 1950s, during the Mao regime. It actually features live performance plus fixed media interludes, and it's about 30 minutes in length. And I actually went on a composer residency in Iceland in 2007, where I started writing the libretto and working on the music ideas. And the challenge was, working with so many personalities, trying to get everyone together at one time was really tricky. And I remember just how it pushed me past my comfort zone, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually as well. I remember thinking that it could not work, but it finally did. And there's a documentation of it on YouTube if you want to check it out. So what I got from that was how to be really organized with all my scores and sheet music and just make sure I had everything together for rehearsals. I mean, that's kind of a given, but when you wear so many hats, like you're the composer and the rehearsal person and the producer, it just really complicates things. But overall, I was very happy with how it turned out. So here's some things that people wouldn't normally know about me. I'm actually also into hand analysis. And so I actually look at people's fingerprints and determine their unique life purpose, their life lesson, and their theme of their life. I'm also a swimmer, and I also did competitive swimming when I was in high school and growing up with a rec team. And I still love to swim. I love hiking. I love eating healthy. I'm also a Capricorn. I've been told I'm a workaholic. So my favorite artists and bands include, Dead Can Dance, Gary Newman. I love Cocteau Twins and Brian Eno. All their work is amazing. So my favorite composers include Arvo Pärt. I really like Tan Dun, Stravinsky, and Bartok. And then I like my Bach, my Brahms, Beethoven, Mozart. I'm kind of a traditionalist in a way. So my favorite horror films were The Omen, The Shining, The Exorcist. And these were all films I saw when I was like 7 years old, thanks to my dad. So my favorite films by Asian directors include To Live, The Blue Kite, and In the Mood for Love. So that pretty much sums up my story. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out my music, you can go to YouTube or go to SoundCloud.